And welcome everyone to Growth with Tacos, episode at least 3. We got Pierce, Jason, Rob, and GPS, myself back in the building today. Happy to be joining my comrades for food, one of my favorite things in the world. Thank God we need it to survive. I have myself here a chicken and a beef taco from the Good Taco, I believe it's called, in Hollywood. Addendumly, I also have a asada quesadilla with what appears to be some, I want to say mac salad there, macaroni salad. I don't know, something of that sort. Next time I'll change it up with a burrito. How about you? How about you guys?
I went with barbecue tacos. I got smoked pork loin and brisket.
So that sounds amazing.
I was kind enough to use my Uber Eats code, so I got like $23.
Yeah. I got the classic, just ground beef homemade tacos. But what's special about this is the sauce. So I have this, I kid you not, this pumpkin allspice hot sauce. Actually, hold up, let me pull it from around the corner. This stuff is amazing. It's made here in Rochester, and it is phenomenal.
Pumpkins.
See this pumpkin right in for the season
pumpkin
too.
Hot sauce.
Yes.
We're all just sitting here waiting on the pumpkin hot sauce.
Yeah. So today's sponsorship apparently, it's by Small World Hot Sauce Company.
Small World Hot Sauce.
Yeah, they're a local shop out here in Rochester. I've been to their place and everything. Bunch of cool guys.
Nice.
This thing is like killer hot. You never would have expected it since it's pumpkin spice flavor, but it is killer hot.
I thought you were gonna say that's like pumpkin spice latte.
Oh yeah.
See, I already ate. I ate a while ago. Nowadays I eat at like 6:30.
Well, I mean, you got to keep your
sleep. That's healthy,
right?
Yeah, I try to be healthy nowadays. Sue,
what's up, Sue?
We're spanning, of course, all the different time zones in the country practically at this point.
Sue from Portugal. What time is it in Portugal right now?
Like 3 a.m.
Is it like 3 a.m. in Portugal?
Probably.
Wow.
That's a goodish guess. Sounds about right in my head.
Dang, that's crazy. If that's the case, then Sue, you a night owl.
Yeah, we
2 a.m. It is 2 a.m. right now.
Wow. 2 a.m.
Conveniences of Google. So, what a week, huh, guys? Like,
bro, what a fucking week.
Out of the taco, so.
I know, right?
As you guys are devouring tacos, man, who would have thought that last week this yeah.
Like, I can't believe that it's been only 7 days since the last episode.
Since then.
It's kind of like every week we don't know what to expect. Every week something crazy happens that.
Yeah,
like,
at the rate things have been going, I technically haven't been on in about a year at this point in podcast time.
This is the longest century of our life.
Kind of feels like it. I'm not gonna lie, man. Dang.
Sue, I am having a smoked pork loin and smoked brisket tacos. I think Pierce said he was going with the classic beef and cheese, and Gianmarco went with beef, cheese, chicken, I had
a beef and chicken tacos and a asada quesadilla. I'm opening up right now.
Asada quesadilla. That sounds good.
And Rob is
I'm more interested in. Yeah, Rob isn't contributing.
And now I'm fasting. Yeah, this is fasting time.
90% of the talking while we moan about how great our tacos are.
Yeah.
He's just gonna sip his tea like he's Kermit the Frog.
I'll have water instead. That'll be my food.
Hey, water's good for you. Hydro homie, right?
You know.
As long as he doesn't have one of those hydro flasks.
I feel like I should get one of those though, right? They're pretty good.
No, they're too loud, man. They're too loud.
Yeah.
Like when they fall.
Yeah.
Clink, clink, clink.
Or when you're refilling them, or just carrying them, or pretty much anything.
Yeah, that's true. It is pretty loud. So I will say though, how do you, as Pierce mentioned, what a week. I will say I like to ask you guys, how did you guys react to some of the recent news? I guess. I mean, there's so much that happened, but
How about we just start with what affected each of us the most? Since there's like so much to cover.
Yeah.
Which one hit each of us the hardest? Who wants to go
For
first?
me, it was definitely RGB. That to me was unexpected. I wasn't keeping too many tabs on her health. I wasn't aware she was in a decline. So it came as a big surprise to me more than anything else. When I just flipped on the news, and I saw that headline. I'm like, my God. And it's very unfortunate, the timing of it all, given the ramifications, both how that just threw a giant tank of gas at a fire that is his election so far in general, this election year, to just reflecting on what she fought for decades on the high court. And I guess one of the more unfortunate things is it's not allowing proper and respectful time to grieve and reflect on it.
Yeah.
I mean, what killed me the most about it is just like the utter lack of disrespect, like not lowering the flags at half mast at a lot of the government buildings and stuff like that, and just like not taking a day to like recognize her accomplishments before like immediately jumping in with the short list and who's going to replace her and saying there will be a vote before the election and all this other stuff.
I'm pretty sure the flags were at half mast, dude.
Sure. Trump didn't make a mention of it.
Well, no shit.
I'm just saying, like, usually when someone dies, he's like, yeah, I'll put the flags at half mast, make some condescending remark like that.
Well, maybe it was just
like when McCain died, he said the flags will not fly at half mast. So
I mean, maybe it wasn't a national thing, but maybe it was just a driving around sort of thing. But I felt like I observed flags being at half mast.
I saw one. It was at a car dealership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta recognize, I guess, like ultimately your flag is your own property, right?
True.
And outside of like government buildings, people get to do whatever they want. And most people don't even pay attention to this sorts of things. And especially if like she wasn't your favorite justice, like I get it. She wasn't my favorite justice. I thoroughly respect the woman. I think what she accomplished in her lifetime is nothing short of impressive. And she managed to advance women's issues like virtually no one else, right? So she is a phenomenal historical person. That being said, we had many disagreements, I would say, if not on a verdict that she would choose, then at least the decision of the verdict. So I don't know if you guys keep up with Supreme Court cases, but you can have differing opinions. Like, okay, this is the verdict and this is why, right? So some cases will have a majority opinion and then a minority opinion, and then you'll also get like concurring opinions, which is, all right, I agree that the answer was yes. However, I disagree with what everybody else is saying is yes, right? So I highly intelligent woman, highly capable individual, probably not my favorite justice though, to be frank. But I could not have wished her passing at a worse time. Like, my reaction when I heard that she had died was fuck. Just that word elicited my lips, and it could not have basically come at a worse time. Yeah, it could not have come at a worse time. People are incredibly polarized, and turning this into a battleground topic. We've got, the 2016 blocking of whatever his name was that Obama wanted to put for. Yeah. I mean, like, and now, of course, people are going to be calling it hypocrisy to do it the other way when they do try to make it go through, which, like, it kind of is. The logic is that, oh, well, we control the Senate now, as opposed to, the previous time where the Democratic Party didn't control the Senate. But most people are just going to look at that as hypocrisy, and basically you're just going to trench your political partisan lines even more, you know? If you're a Republican, you think like, oh no, it's different and it's right and it's just and we should put this person forward. And if you're a Democrat, you're going to think like, oh, this is absolutely terrible and completely hypocritic and not good. Just as a whole, like this could not have come at a worse time.
Yeah. Question from Sue.
Yeah.
Will Trump get enough
support to replace RBG before the election? Almost certainly, if you want my opinion on that. Almost certainly.
Are the majority in the Senate. Very few of them are going to vote against him. So
Of note, Mitt Romney confirmed his support for it most recently.
No, Mitt Romney did not confirm his support. Mitt Romney said that he would be willing to vote and would be evaluating her based on her qualifications. Which, quite frankly, honestly, okay. I kind of figured I'd hold this opinion later, but I'll say it now. I think that Democrats are basically whining too much about this topic. No, in all seriousness, the role of the government, there is a role of the government that is currently unfilled. That is a Supreme Court justice. This is an important role. It is a role of the president to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and it is the roles of the senators to either affirm or deny that justice, but with the intent of filling the slot of the justice, right? So just because it is an election year doesn't mean that those people should stop doing their jobs. Just because, oh, I dislike that, team that you're apparently coming from doesn't mean that that person should be not evaluated on their own merits. And frankly, I think a lot of us should be disgusted with ourselves for completely already casting judgment before a name has even been put forward.
Very true.
I mean, if we look at a short list, though, that he released back in like July, Ted Cruz and Ann Coulter were on it. Come on.
The most I can ask is for everyone to be judged individually on their own merits. Everyone as an American deserves that.
True, but like Ann Coulter and Ted Cruz have already been judged. So, like, if either of those two names happen to be it,
are they the nominee though? We don't know yet.
That's what the short list that was put out in July is what most people are like reacting to.
There's gonna be a nominee, and I basically like we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And honestly, there's a good chance that I won't like him. I didn't like Kavanaugh. All right, I thought Kavanaugh did not have the temperament required to be a Supreme Court judge. I also thought it was bullshit what the Democrats tried to run him through the mud on, quite frankly, what seemed to be fairly unsubstantiated sexual assault claims, just knowing that that's what gets the outrage.
Well, it's like one of those things where like the lady has like been preaching it for like ever that it happened, but it's just never been news until now. There's like a lot of Trump's like sexual assault cases. Like people have come forward and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't news because of how powerful Trump was, or it wasn't newsworthy enough at the time.
Yeah, I mean, we're at, probably dozens.
And has a right to be heard.
Yes. So I agree with you on that. All right. I think that even if it's, say, past the statute of limitations, Kavanaugh's case, someone accusing Kavanaugh of sexual assaults, I do believe that deserves to be heard because you are evaluating the man in part for his character, right, for the role. Yeah. So I agree that needed to be covered. And although you can make an assessment that the Senate was not impartial, I would agree that they were not impartial. The Senate fairly conclusively determined that Kavanaugh was not guilty, as it were. I mean, he wasn't under trial, but that was the consensus of the majority. So, like, I'm just basically going to say he's innocent until proven guilty, right? That's how our theoretically our law system works.
Even if it was a thing where he could be proven guilty, the statute of limitations, like you said, was up.
Right.
But the woman's been saying this for a couple of decades at this point. She didn't just like hear, oh, he's going to be Supreme Court justice, let me come forward and try to smear him, like everyone wants to say. She's like mentioned this story like numerous times throughout her life, to help her get over it.
Sure. I'll believe you.
The subject of her story got nominated to the Supreme Court by, another person who's been accused multiple times. So it just happened to be news. And that was part of his character that, the Senate chose to look into.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I agree that she deserved,
and all of this other stuff.
yeah, I agree that she deserved to be heard. And I also, again, my own personal assessment is that Kavanaugh was found wanting. I just think that one hot button issue basically is like the only circumstance that the American public knows about it. They really don't.
His ruling on absolutely everything. I mean, the guy's never he's never looked at a case that wasn't through his own religious view.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what I would have went for if I were the Democrats, but but at the same time, you have a Senate majority with, all Republicans who were mostly elected on the Tea Party's dime. So they're all think the same way that Kavanaugh does. So we would have been stuck with Kavanaugh either way.
Well, I mean, ultimately, that is kind of what happened.
I know.
Like I said, we know that the Senate wasn't entirely impartial.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point being that everybody should be evaluated on their own individual merits, right? And we don't even have a name put forth yet. We need to not be at each other's throats. Who knows? Potentially this person's good. Again, I didn't like Kavanaugh, all right? So I'm not exactly holding my breath here. But we should wait to reserve judgment.
Why I'm going to be there protesting. Plus, I also think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. The Republicans had the majority of the Senate back before Obama, and when he tried to he didn't even get to put forth a nominee necessarily. He got to mention a name that he wanted, but they made him hold off and wouldn't do the vote until after the election. I think the same standard should be held per presidency.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with what Pierce is saying in terms of a name hasn't even put before yet, and we're already judging a book by its parents' cover, not even their own cover at that point. Because look at the other way around. Sure, the Republicans were raising all hell about Obama nominating Garland, which ended up being, for the most part, more of a moderate pick for the Democratic side.
Yeah, I mean, Garland was as dead center as you could possibly get on the political spectrum.
Question. So, when do you think there will be a nominee?
Probably next week sometime, I would say.
Early next week at the latest, probably even this weekend.
Because Trump swears he'll have it done in under a month. So.
Yeah, I'm in line with those guys.
And is Kamala Harris still on the Judiciary Committee? Because she would be involved in those initial hearings too, then.
I don't think she's officially resigned any committees yet.
Yeah, because last I checked, I tried to look at her committee assignments. I don't think I saw her among the judiciary, but we'll see. But yeah, a lot has happened in the past 7 days.
Because Joe Biden had mentioned Kamala on his short list for Supreme Court justices and everything when back last year. And she's now his vice president. If they did hold off this thing, would he still want to put her forth, or is there someone else more qualified at this point?
At this point, particularly, it is so crazy to me for someone to even consider nominating a sitting representative or senator, or even former for that point, given how partisan that branch of the government has become.
True.
In terms of not even if it's not that individual congressman or senator, just the aspect of Congress as a whole. That can be a very dangerous game in terms of easily attacking people. Sure, I can understand Pompeo becoming CIA director and Secretary of State as a thing, because it's still within two branches of government that are kind of equally have their own problems, in my opinion. But the judiciary branch has, for even through all of this, has remained, in my opinion, as steadfast to using their checks and balances in a nonpartisan way as possible. To an extent, of course, rulings aside, but the way they behave themselves, especially. We had John Roberts speak out against criticism from Donald Trump a year or two ago, saying that there's Obama Trumps and Obama judges and Bush judges, etc. And then Robert, in a very rare moment, said a statement that this is a very nonpartisan branch of the government, and it's to remain that way.
Yeah,
I wish, for sure. It's most certainly supposed to be. Yeah.
In my opinion, it's probably one of the last things standing in terms of just our values as a country.
Yeah. And you're bringing up a good like points to a potential problem. So I just spoke that we should, evaluate the person as an individual, but it's still impossible to ignore who is nominating them. And we can't ignore years of our own, social interactions and observances that there's a good chance that that person's going to feel indebted, right?
Yeah.
So we're about to hit a election that might not have a clear winner on election night due to absentee voting and COVID changes to how people vote, right? So if the election is questioned and contested, and I can imagine ways that would happen, I would think that ultimately that would be decided by, say, the Supreme Court. It depends what conflict it chooses to be the vehicle that a contested election is pursued. But we all know that Trump's not going to concede, right? Yeah. So like last time we basically had a contested election was Al Gore versus George W. Bush. And, there was reason to be questioning, I guess, about the outcome of Florida. But ultimately, Al Gore conceded before, like, he still basically had further ammunition to spend, if you will. He could have drug that fight out longer. And maybe he would have won, maybe not, probably not. But like he definitely could have drug that fight out longer. And he chose not to. He chose to concede to, have the government start moving forward, right? And we all know that Donald Trump is not going to do that. He will never concede. Win or lose, that man is not conceding.
Yeah, I'm telling people more recently, guys, if you think everything we've gone through in 2020 over the past 4 years and 2020 inclusive is crazy, like November is going to be one of, in my opinion, the most difficult times that this country's ever had.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens on the election night.
Yeah.
The week afterwards.
I absolutely agree. I think that people are not really
Here's
ready.
the interesting thing, though. Like, how many appeals do you think they give Trump like if Trump loses and he refuses to concede because of absentee voting and all of this, how many appeals does he get? Could he possibly stretch this out past inauguration date and Nancy Pelosi gets sworn in as interim president?
Yeah, so yes and no, right? So it's not like he gets to appeal, as it were. You don't appeal a Supreme Court. There is no higher court to appeal to, because that's what an appeal is. You appeal to a higher court. So it's not really like an appeals process, but like I said, there's a couple different ways that it could go around. My imagination is basically that you're going to have, at the worst case, you have basically multiple people show up to be sworn in. All right, like this is, I'm basically actually about to lay out the doomsday scenario. All right, the doomsday scenario is that different electoral college results are provided because at various dates of voting, you have different vote totals. These results are provided to the Senate, where the president of the Vice Senate, which is the vice president, reads out the results and announces, all right, here we are to inaugurate our next president. And that, again, is the vice president. And if he has, say, multiple results in front of him from different states, then he gets to pick and choose, right? So you're coming up with a scenario where, worst case, you have multiple people show up to be sworn in. You have Joe Biden show up to be sworn in. You have Donald Trump show up to be sworn in. And that doesn't even actually involve Nancy Pelosi getting sworn in. So in the case of it being theoretically unclear, so as in the sense of we agree that it is unclear. If we agree that the result is unclear, then Nancy Pelosi, assuming that she retains Speaker of the House, she gets sworn in. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And she is the interim acting president until it becomes clear who actually won, and then that person gets sworn in.
Now the question, would it be contested if, let's say that scenario happened? Would it be contested when she put a Supreme Court justice up for nomination? Or would it be the best interest to keep the country moving forward? Because right now, Republicans say it needs to happen as quickly as possible.
Are you referring to filling the 9th slot, or are you referring to going above
filling the 9th slot? If Nancy Pelosi is named interim president, filling the 9th slot on the Supreme Court, her putting a justice up if Trump's doesn't go through. Would that be?
I'm not
So
an expert.
I think the stipulation would be that Trump nominated a justice, but it has not been confirmed by the Senate yet. And then the election happens where Pelosi is not interim president. Does his nomination still stand because he is no longer, in this case, acting president?
Yeah, that's kind of like.
So. I'm not an expert in this. I honestly I don't know. I would think so.
Not covered in any political science course I've ever taken.
I don't know. I think so, but I don't know is the answer I got for you.
I think we're literally writing rules like as we go at this point with the way this year is going.
Potentially, and that's the not good scenario. In all seriousness, potentially we're going to be exploring uncharted territory that is not clearly defined or like that has room for interpretation in some sort of law, and then these turn into legal court battles. And
or if the election is unclear and it goes to the Supreme Court for a decision, and there's only 8 justices on the bench and it comes out a 4-4 tie, what happens then?
You know what? I don't know. Let's Google. I think this is a great question, so I'm gonna Google
I'm looking at some of the stuff right now.
It's very interesting. I'm just learning everything as like just everything that you guys are saying right now, because like I'm not like I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about Supreme Court justice and especially what's happening currently right now in this current state of the Supreme Court justice. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around everything.
I just want to say whoever's idea it was to put mac and cheese on a taco with brisket was a genius.
Nice.
It's messy, but genius.
Hey.
And Pierce is on the Googler.
Yeah. So if it was a case that was referred from a lower court, then the lower court's ruling stands.
Yeah.
However, I don't think. I mean, this might.
I misheard the question. Yeah, I misheard the question. I thought it was what happens when a Supreme Court justice dies during confirmation. But yeah, if there's a tie, it goes to the lower court. Legally speaking, there's nothing in the Constitution.
That's the problem.
What was that?
This is there wouldn't be a lower court in this situation. That's a problem. Contested election results go to the Supreme Court.
Honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a federal.
We're all learning at the same time.
But yeah, we're kind of figuring this out at the. I mean, this is why we call the show Growth with Tacos, right?
Yeah.
So we all learn new things.
I mean, from my understanding, I have to read into it, but the situation in Florida in 2000 went up to the Supreme Court expeditedly because of the gravity of it.
Right.
I still think it had to go through normal channels until it got there.
Right.
But this case was just expedited because of the situation. And there's always our lower courts to the Supreme Court, though.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Florida would be under the 12th Federal Circuit Court or whatever it is. I don't actually know if that's the right number. So depending on what it is that is being contested would determine the avenue that it gets up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, there's systems in place in which to, prioritize and expedite cases as needed, especially when it comes to national security and the defense of the American citizens, etc. And those court cases go by really fast because of the time-sensitive nature of it too. And that's another thing to consider for judges' consideration, like how level-headed are they in very pressuring matters, and that ties into the whole character interview as well. There was one government official, I forgot it was a representative or a senator of which party, but they pretty much decided their view on Kavanaugh. It was probably a senator, given it was a Senate vote, but they pretty much decided their decision on Kavanaugh based on watching his Supreme Court, his Senate hearing first, and then watching it again without any audio and seeing his body language. Because even if let's say you're in a foreign country, you don't know the language, you can tell a lot about how the feelings and sensations that the person's exuding based on their body language, based on the tone of their voice,
Mhm.
based on their particularly their body language, and that says a lot about temperament too. And I was in a strong agreement. Like, yeah, like even if I didn't hear what he was saying, even if he said a lot of things I agreed with, like that kind of presence in a room is, in my opinion, unfitting to be in the Supreme Court.
That was the conclusion I had coming away from it as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I ran out of my drink. Okay. So we have mango, lemon, and another one. Which one should I get? Got some of this yesterday.
Absolute mango.
Mango, all right.
Hey, mango.
Yeah. No hesitation. Unanimous vote.
I'm out of tacos and very sad.
I think mangoes go pretty well with a lot of things, but tacos for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon too,
sure.
lemon too. But I am a mango guy.
I think maybe next week I'll make my my mango pork for tacos. So
Mango pork tacos.
yeah, all right. Yeah, so basically I have this mango marinade that I'll what's up?
Sue voted mango as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got this mango marinade, and the pork just turns out phenomenal, because usually you're used to like Mexican food being on the savory side of things and the, maybe spicy side of things. So now it's sweet, right? As opposed to spicy. And it's a very different taste. It's pretty
So
sweet.
it's very Polynesian is what you're saying.
I mean, I guess it could go that way. Sure. Why not? I picked up
Like that's like more that has more of a sweet flavor to it is like always from the Polynesian islands and stuff like that. So,
Well, I picked up the idea when I was in junior high. There's this restaurant called Cafe Rio out in Utah. Everybody that is watching the stream from Utah in the Salt Lake Valley is going like, I know that place. 'Cause so it was Chipotle before Chipotle in the Salt Lake Valley, and their pork is sweet. And I was able to identify. I was like, that's mango. It's a closely guarded secret. Nobody knows why it's sweet. I'm like, that's mango. I can tell. So I mean, like me, like 14 years old, I'm thinking this stuff is awesome. I want to figure out how to cook it. So I just, went back home the next day and came up with a recipe that I found online, and been using it ever since. It's pretty solid.
Well, can you share this mango pork recipe, my friend?
Oh my goodness. I don't cook it enough to have it memorized off the top of my head. I'm not gonna lie to you.
First you get pork, and then you get a mango, and then they like spend a special night together in the refrigerator, and then you cook it the next day.
Set a special night in the refrigerator.
And they produce a beautiful.
Nice. I would like to try that though. That does sound really freaking good. I'm not gonna lie.
It's pretty sweet, man. No pun intended.
Hey.
You really need like a drummer that just sits like off screen somewhere in one of our places and does rim shots.
Yeah, like whenever we just have like some random like side jokes. Sue says that she will tweet to remind you for that recipe.
Nice.
So that also happens to if Pierce ever checks his Twitter.
That's the other
Come on,
thing.
occasionally.
It requires that.
I mean, I definitely was on Twitter a lot more during the campaign than I am now, but I try to go on every once in a while.
Twitter activity by overall Yang supporters has essentially tanked since he suspended his campaign.
Yeah.
So there's still some people that are about it, following humanity forward and everything. And increasingly, hopefully, just the congressional candidates we're trying to push here.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a print
Kim,
I got a fun story that I've shared with you all. But I was at like a print shop this past week, early this week, Monday, for Kinder Horn. Like, because if you volunteer enough at a shop and stuff, like the DNC the Democratic Party will cover part of the like printing process for mass voter reminder mailers. So I got to go to a print shop, learn how to use this like really cool computer print thing, and like help make an entire pallet. I shit you not, it was like an entire pallet of vote reminders going out to just like one district in Oklahoma for her campaign. It was so fucking cool.
Wow.
I'm really shocked that I didn't lose a finger, but at the same time, it was so cool.
Yep.
I think I can put this on my resume now. Ran a giant printer for 25 minutes.
And I'm not gonna lie, I do
I
sometimes.
do it for 2 hours.
Do you guys miss campaigning /
I'm still doing it, man.
canvassing?
I'm back as close to as I am right now.
I mean, yeah,
David Kim's
you
campaign.
guys are the guys. Because I'm not like phone banking or like canvassing and stuff like that.
So I guess the question here, Rob, is why aren't you?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Why aren't you spending just 30 minutes throughout your entire? Actually, give me 1 second. 30 minutes.
You know what? I have not phone banked for David Kim yet, and I would like to. So you've got a commitment right now for me on air. I am going to phone bank for David Kim tomorrow.
Saturday, I'll be doing it.
Tell me what to do. I'll do it tomorrow.
I'll send you the event link.
And you can set it up. Although you can only use Google Chrome, I found. Google Chrome is the only one that works 100% of the time. For
phone
ThroughTalk.
banking?
Nice.
Yeah, for ThroughTalk on phone banking. I miss VPB, to be honest. That was so easy. Because then I could set up my iPad, I have my phone, and I just go back and forth between the two,
VPB. Wow.
Yeah, and just crush
Go
it.
back.
I would crush that crap because
I just dropped the volunteer link on the chat for
Yeah.
anyone that wants to join us. I'm dropping the volunteer link on the chat.
Oh, sweet.
And so here's what I can tell you about the system we use. The system we use is called ThroughTalk. It's not OpenVPB. For those that are unfamiliar, ThroughTalk essentially dials automatically in the background. There's no manual dialing done by you in any regard, be it on your phone or Google Voice. And when you hear a ding, it means to connected you to a call that ideally isn't a voicemail. It uses its system to filter out voicemails. But the interesting thing about ThroughTalk is by the nature of the way it works, from my understanding, it wants to have someone available to go to the call that is connected right now. So you need someone available at the moment, no matter when that moment is. This is dialing countless numbers in the background. So the more people that are on the system at any given time, the less time it will take you to connect to a call. So your time waiting in between calls, let's say there's 1 or 2 people, can be 5, 6, 7 minutes. But if you get to 20 plus people at the same time, you'll be connected to calls in in my opinion, 15 seconds or less, almost simultaneously sometimes. So when even just one person can donate 15 minutes of their time to make phone calls, that's just not that one person making 1 or 2 or 3 more conversations over the course of 15 minutes. That is everyone else on the dialer having 1 or 2 or 3 more conversations. So you're literally worth your exponential weight in gold, as I like to say, because every individual person just boosts the frequency of connected calls more and more over time.
Can I just point out this one thing though, GPS? It makes it really freaking hard for one person to make 1,000 calls.
Absolutely. And that's why we try to have these in set event times where a lot of people are usually available to maximize the amount of people on the dialer at during that hour to 2 hour window.
Yeah.
It is a limitation, but I've done it for you've seen me do it for 6 hours. I survived.
I was on YouTube with you the entire time.
Which means that for those who do want to volunteer, especially if you don't want to do it alone, you could create a phone banking party. I know that's
exactly. We're on Zoom. We do our phone banking parties on Zoom. You see a bunch of faces on the screen, with no volume, just talking to voters and stuff like that. And it's shit, it feels good that you're doing this with a bunch of other people. I usually say, I've been on the dialer for an hour with all these a dozen other people on here helping me out. It adds a sense of community and camaraderie.
I pulled up the page too, and I saw that there's text banking as well.
Yes, we have a lot of interesting text banking conversations. One particular one that I always like to think about is this one where I don't know where the screenshot is, but someone did the whole spiel. Hey, this is such and such with David Kim's campaign, telling them about it, and the immediate reply was, "Yeah, but is he hot?" And the text banker replied. The text banker replied well, according to a previous voter, he reminds me, he's this Korean pop star that this supporter stands, which is a huge fan of this person. So just by the nature of the reply, they were interested in checking him out. We also happen to raise a significant amount of money through a hashtag, progressive hotties, I think it is, initiative. Someone set up a specific Act Blue for very attractive looking progressive candidates.
That's amazing.
And the whole description was people might shame you thinking you're only supporting this person because they're very attractive. But fortunately for us, they also have an amazing progressive platform that makes them extremely something you want to be in government.
I know. I tried to do.
Steve, I agree with you.
For him on Twitter.
It's that microphone.
I set up a David Kim money bomb, and I only raised $200 freaking, and then someone's like, "Oh, well, you suck. If you would have just said he was hot, you could have raised 1,000 like me." And I'm like, bastard.
You know, I think anybody can tell you, but especially a woman, good looks are not the only thing about being attractive. All right? Andrew Yang is one of the most attractive men I've ever seen, and it ain't for his looks.
It's his spirit.
We've been over my
brains
on this.
Yeah.
So his brains, my friend.
The worst part about a quesadilla, man. Go ahead, Pierce.
Oh, I was gonna say that's true though. I'm definitely attracted to intelligence. You know.
Oh yeah, as everyone should be.
Like, first thing you notice about, generally speaking, a new woman in a new place that you're going or whatever, obviously is how she looks, right? So that's what prompts me to come up to her and actually talk to her.
Speaking as a straight guy, yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's what prompts me to come up to her and talk to her, introduce myself, say hi or whatever. But after that, like, all right, what's going on between those ears? What's going on behind the eyeballs? You know, let me see how you think. And if you don't, I mean,
hey, we got a Pokemon.
I'm attracted to intelligence. What can I say? You know.
Nice. Oh,
Hey, from Twitch.
Speaking of random thoughts, here's something I've been asking people. Like, what is a decision you've made that you're always reminded of that you messed up on? Like a simple mistake that you made. For me, recently, it's been accidentally buying single-ply toilet paper. And I am reminded of my mistake every single day.
Nice to know you're that regular.
That's so red.
Corner with a look of disgust.
I'm also debating which is better, oat milk or almond milk. I mean, I'm leaning towards oat because of the environmental factors. But what's not helping its fight right now is I accidentally bought the non-sugar oat milk, so it takes a lot of sugary cereal to make it sweet.
Okay.
And I'm about to start the almond milk soon too. But the almond milk seems to have a longer shelf life.
Stop calling it freaking milk. It's water. It's
yes.
water pressed out of it because I've never seen a tit on a damn oat or a damn almond. They do not have tits, so it cannot be milk.
I'm split between oat juice and almond juice.
Like sitting somewhere, almond going. No.
All right. Well, quick interjection to address. We have someone else from Portugal in the audience. True. Multiple people from Portugal watching right now.
What up, Portugal? What's good? What's good?
We have.
Should do it.
I wish I could speak Portuguese.
We have Sue on YouTube and we have Dr. Phil Better on Twitch, both from Portugal.
Yeah. So you're asking what's the topic of discussion? Honestly, it varies a lot. The show is called Growth with Tacos because we try to provide new perspectives and learn things along the way. And obviously we enjoy some tacos. And while we're at it, that generally means covering some current events. We offer our opinions and different perspectives. And past that, right now you can see we're talking about the merits of single-ply toilet paper and almond milk. So
as you can see, it's kind of random sometimes.
Yeah. It goes around the table, but generally, as long as we're all learning new things, we feel like we're growing. And tacos. So there you go.
Yeah, I definitely
on an almond, and then I'll start calling it milk.
Yeah. Well, so the main protest you probably spoke about, Sue, is the news about the Breonna Taylor case, in which none of the police officers, from my understanding, I haven't looked into it yet, were indicted on strong charges, given what was going on. I'm sorry, what was that, Jason?
One of them was officially charged today, I think.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, a lot of people are not happy with that decision. I think it speaks to a lot as to something I mentioned previously about the George Floyd case, where as to why they charge him with third degree instead of first degree murder. Like, I can completely understand the one to just do the absolute highest form of justice to these people, but at the end of the day, building a case is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And the prosecutors, I'm sure, want to have something they can at least achieve, which is, from my understanding right now, something like third degree murder, than trying to prove intent, which ties into first degree murder.
I mean, they didn't do it behind the wall. That's the only thing they have in their defense. You know, that someone typed the wrong address and they didn't know that she was behind the wall that they shot through to kill her.
Again, I have to look into the details. I haven't explored it as much as myself, but that is a major news of today specifically.
Yeah. This is
what was that, Jason?
That was typed up for the wrong house. They busted through the door, they opened fire, and the bullets went through the wall, tragically killing her. That's my understanding of the entire situation.
They pretty much killed her in her sleep.
Yeah.
was unjust, uncalled for. And
Yeah.
even in New York City, we had there was a protest today as well. So
and
it's crazy.
yeah, you can't deny the fact though that the elephant in the room is still, police training and police tactics in general. Like that is fundamentally the problem here, and whereas always like attacking something as a reaction to an event, where we should be working towards trying to solve it so it's not a problem in the first place. And that is a whole different part of the conversation beyond just a case.
Yeah. Also, double checking the addresses that you type into the script.
Yeah, you would think.
Just for like say the most basic thing they could have done, they could have double checked the address before pushing you through the warrant.
It was a no knock warrant, so they just busted right in.
Right. And I believe the boyfriend of Breonna Taylor, I don't remember his name, thought that, he thought there was a home invasion happening, so he fired. Right. So he fired at the police, who I believe were also not in uniform while serving this no knock. Yeah. In my opinion, you don't get both. All right. I can recognize how, honestly, from police perspective, sometimes you're going to need to come unannounced, right? Okay, and perform a no-knock warrant. I don't think a no-knock warrant is automatically bad. I don't think a no-knock warrant was likely necessary in this case, but I don't think a no-knock warrant is automatically a bad thing. But you don't get to do a no-knock warrant and not be in uniform, all right? Yeah. There's no way for the occupant to tell who the heck you are, right? Yep. And as such, they're going to try to defend their life and property. So that's what the guy did, and he was.
And in true form, the man was no further than 30 feet away from a gun, because the second they busted through, he was able to grab it and get fire. So
yeah, it's impressive, honestly. If it didn't have such a terrible
the chain that had to happen, in order for that to just occur.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing. I just. Rapping it's wrong, and I understand that it's wrong in so many ways, but it still makes me go, what the fuck?
Yeah, the Breonna Taylor case, I always approach each of these things with a healthy dose of skepticism, and the Breonna Taylor case is the most overwhelmingly just, how could this mistake have happened? How could she should still be with us today? Yes. Unquestionably. In many of the other cases, we talked about this already, many of the cases, the person that tragically lost their life will have shared some level of responsibility, and we can determine, okay, the police shouldn't have done that, right? And then you can also go, all right, the guy also shouldn't have done that, right? Breonna Taylor was literally asleep. Yep. The police were at the wrong address. They were serving a warrant for a person that was already in custody. They arrived no knocking and not in uniform, and then they shot recklessly into the room, the wonton endangerment that the man has now been indicted for, right? They shot recklessly into the room without concern of who they might potentially be hitting, let alone, the actual person that was defending his own home. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's indefensible. And it's not just the training.
Personal firearm to be able to fire first at the police when they burst into the door. I mean, that's just the line of events that have to happen for that to occur, to have your gun right there and be able to grab it and fire within 3 seconds of your door being busted down. And how horrible of a shot they must have been to miss him but still shoot through the wall.
So that's actually the point. You'll note that there were 3 officers serving the warrant.
Yeah.
And one of them was indicted. And basically, my understanding, I could be wrong on this, but my understanding is that through the review of evidence, they determined that he wasn't aiming, that he was just shooting.
Yeah.
So that's why he's being indicted for wanton endangerment, because he could have hit anybody, and unfortunately, he did hit someone. He was already terminated from the force much earlier, right?
Yeah. I think all 3 were terminated.
So 2 of them were suspended, and one of them was terminated. And this was very early. I don't know if the other 2 have been terminated by now. I'm out of the loop. I haven't followed up. But while the investigation has been going on, very early on, the individual that fired the rounds that killed Breonna Taylor, he was terminated because they can do ballistics match and be like, "Yep, it was your gun that killed her." So, nice job.
Yeah.
Hopefully they say the nice job with sarcasm too.
Yeah.
A healthy dose.
Well, Breonna Taylor and her family deserve better.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to describe how
Way better
also
than
like
this.
it's hard to describe also like how much that easily should not have happened. One, because she could not have been any more minding her own business. She was fucking asleep. She did absolutely nothing wrong to get what happened to her whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it is just wild. And like it was just, in my opinion, to an extent, sheer bad luck, because it is much harder than people think to just hit something with a bullet, especially depending on the amount of space there is. Like there were countless ways where that could have at least ended up with no one dying, but we ended up in a horrible situation.
Yeah.
And police have a tough job. Police have a tough job. Like, imagine you're serving a warrant and then bullets start coming at you, right? Like, it's understandable that you're going to feel like this is now a sudden fight for your life, right? It's just, it shouldn't have even gotten to that point in the first place.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? This wasn't only a training failure, and this wasn't only a paperwork failure. Like, there was such a multitude of a chain of events that led to this happening.
It makes you wonder if life is really truly random, or if it's like everyone like just has a path. It like really, like, I'm not a religious human being at all, but it makes me go like, there has to be some outside force that would cause something so random like this to happen. There's no way this random amount of events just happens. Like, it's all like, I've never seen like that much coincidence just happen, No,
you also have to consider the fact that crime rates are affected to a certain extent by the economic level of the neighborhoods in which they are in, and they are disproportionately labeled on towards minorities.
Mm-hmm.
So the math isn't in their favor in every regard. For those that aren't as economically stable, minorities in general, like, you're by the nature of things in an area where there is a lot more possibility for violence and less safety in general, and that shouldn't be the case. But even as of course Andrew has said, like, minorities have numbers working against them in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole system's against.
And I don't know who mentioned this
Minorities
previously, but I saw it brought up again, and this is kind of a different topic, but I think in a European country, in some European countries, like, it is illegal to charge for tuition for public education or charge to some tax for it. Like, here in America, a lot of the funding for schools come from the local and state taxes, and meaning that if you're in an affluential neighborhood, your public school is of more quality.
Yeah.
But in some European countries, from my understanding, like, that is not the case, and your school is only as good as like the average how good the average person is doing. So there's no separation of like a class difference in terms of public schooling. Everyone is given equal opportunity, which in my opinion, equal opportunity is a very American ideal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the ways like our education should be rethought of in terms of reflecting on that. It also, this is something I was learning in my Constitution Foundation class. It also ties into freedom. Like, to develop a counter argument for that, freedom is another American ideal. Like, I want the freedom to choose to live in this neighborhood. I want to work as hard as I need to be able to have this kind of basically income level around me, and thus through that extent, have through my hard work and my decisions, I'm being able to take my children to this public school that it is considerably much better than other places. So there's a lot of things about American culture and the ideals of it that are always kind of conflicting. And sure, of course, that ties into, to a certain extent, the two-party system we have now, which the voting system is an entirely different matter. But at the end of the day, it's all about the numbers, really. Like, if you want to create equal opportunity, like, we have the possibility of doing that, but you have to participate in your local government. People underestimate the outsized role local politics have compared to the federal government in a lot of regards.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, unfortunately, they're just, if they're voting, at the very least, they're voting every 4 years for the presidency, which, sure, I understand that their platform sends a message to what the government should be like. but local elections absolutely matter more than people think.
They matter a lot more than like the federal level, like in your everyday life.
Yeah, you can literally never vote for a federal office, like be a representative, senator, or president, etc., and always only vote on your local elections, and your life would be significantly different.
Yeah,
like it would have more impact on your life than not voting for federal at all.
Yeah,
exactly. Because,
I mean,
like,
they're directly in your community or your district.
Not
They
to mention
oversee
those
it.
elections are also decided by smaller vote margins as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
like the last like mayoral election for like Oklahoma City, and it's like only 10,000 people voted. What? The city,
Wow.
it's like out of 1 million people that live here. Like, really? I don't think it's actually a full million, but it's like close to that. Like, because I've been trying to learn like so much about the local politics here and everything, so I can help out better and like be more affluent when I talk to people in this region for like Kinderhorn or something.
I think the metro area is 1 million. I think the city itself is like 250,000 or something. That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And there's
Probably check before I say it.
another tie into the whole freedom idea. Like, I want the freedom of not voting if I don't want to. That's another thing. Admittedly, there was a time, because Peru does this, I believe, where my family's from. You are penalized for not voting, essentially taxed for not participating in an election.
Definitely institute something like that here.
I
Like,
didn't know.
Yeah, and at first I was like, that makes sense that you should be participating, but I also understand you don't want to be forced to participate in something that you might not care about.
well, I mean,
But-
when we get taxed for not having health care, then we should be able to get taxed for not voting and influencing
Yeah.
our everyday form of life. So
Yeah, and given the way things are right now, I can't imagine whatever president runs on that as part of their platform, just forcing a vote.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst idea.
Yesterday was National Voter Registration Day, and I'm glad it did not become a partisan fucking problem, because if you're participating in voter registration day, you're participating in people being registered to vote regardless of who they support.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that is the more important thing. Making people participate in our government through the very fundamental thing of voting, which is your constitutionally given right, that is the least you can ask for.
Yeah.
I was unable to prove residency here in Oklahoma, so I will be voting in California, where I have my apartment. So
I don't think David's in your district.
I know.
Shoot.
I'm
Well,
outside.
you're volunteering, so.
I will say that on top of
so
I'll say that in addition to voting, something I do want to mention to people who are listening is that here in America, we have 7 days left for the 2020 census. So that is something that's also very, very important on top of registering to vote, because we have to make sure that people are accounted for. And a lot of the politicians base their policies off of these numbers and these metrics that's in the census. So people need to go out and also fill that out.
And if I'm not mistaken, taking the the census quiz or whatever, answering their questions, the last question is, are you registered to vote? And then it will link you through to register you to vote. So you can do both in like 3 minutes.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. Super simple. Close enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
God, my hair is really Jew-throwing out today. You can tell the humidity is like high today. Like, it's so fluffy and bouncy.
What's the
You don't
temperature in
have
Oklahoma?
nearly the Jew fro that I get when my hair is long.
Oh, man.
Bro,
Oh, we see it. Yeah.
every day.
So when we were in Iowa, I remember going up to Pierce. I'm like, Pierce, one of my favorite things about adding you on Facebook is just pressing on your profile photo and pressing left. And I saw like a much more dated photo. It's crazy because Facebook has since removed pressing left to restart back to the original profile photo if that was the most recent one. But man, Pierce's hair history is pretty awesome.
Wow. The fro is real.
I
Yep.
think we should stop conditioning for a couple of weeks and just like let it go. What do you guys think?
How often do you condition your hair?
Every fucking day.
Damn, that is a lot.
I
In my
shampoo
opinion.
like once a week and I condition every day just to keep my hair like straight-ish.
I mean, I condition my hair like every day.
And then I go in for like I used to go in for deep conditionings and everything, like where they would do the heat treatments and stuff to help keep
Oh,
it
shit, you
straight.
were telling me about that.
Yeah. So
So if you don't do that, then would it just become more like a fro? Like,
yeah, it gets curlier. Like the less I take care of it, the curlier it gets.
You know, I'm actually like kind of curious. I kind of want to see it.
It's freaky.
Try it out. Try it out. How about this? Like, don't condition your hair for a week, and then come back next week, and then we'll have a nice little surprise.
I don't know
I do that.
Man.
I'm so used to actually having my hair short that there's never been a point to condition it. But if I grow out the Jufro again, I should give that a try.
Yeah, I'm due in for another quarantine cut at this point. It's getting pretty scruffy on the sideburns for me.
Shampoo more than once a week, Pierce. You want to like just condition every day, and you don't want to like scrub it into your scalp. You just like want to lightly place it on your hair and push back. You don't want to go deep into the scalp because then that makes your hair too oily and greasy, and it prevents it from like growing, and it just makes it gross and all tangly. So you just like want to like gently rub the conditioner on, and then like let it sit in there for about a good 5 minutes while you're in the shower, and then like lightly rinse it out. You never want to work your conditioner down to the roots.
We'll have to wait for me to have hair again.
True.
I mean, hey, Pierce, if it makes you feel any better, my hair length used to be your length at one point.
I like short hair. All right.
Yeah, it's a lot less shampoo.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to like care about it too much, and actually, like it actually looks good.
Yeah. See, Gina P agrees. Don't condition.
Right. Yep. Gina is backing up what Jason said. Don't condition the roots. All right. This lesson has now been imbued into my head.
How do you not condition the roots though if you're like conditioning your hair? Do you not press onto the roots while you're doing it?
Scalp as it is, it's already picking up the moisture, your natural body oils and everything to keep your hair healthy at the roots. As your hair grows away from the roots and everything, that's when it starts to dry out and get curly and like froey and stuff. So that's why. But
essentially, to not condition the roots, you essentially don't press your fingers or hands along the surface, just like the hair.
No, you just
like the surface.
Just gently rub it back.
Okay, I'll try that. If I ever
go like this.
I mean, do you have enough hair to still condition GPS?
If I ever buy conditioner again, I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah, you got to like if you want like nice soft hair like Rob and I have, you just like condition the top. You don't condition the rest.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for another quarantine cut and just put like a tube or something and just shave it all off.
Do it. I use Garnier.
What are
Amy McGrath? Oh, are two of us pressing it at the same time?
Yeah.
Amy McGrath is facing a difficult.
Supposed to be doing this.
Amy McGrath is facing a strong fight against Mitch McConnell, but currently she has a lot of ground to cover, in my opinion. But we're still, 6 weeks away or so from election day, so a lot can happen. So as a tie-in to what we were discussing earlier, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing has energized voters on both sides, actually. Traditionally, conservatives are more wary of the judicial system than liberals are. So that can be a way to galvanize supporters and voter turnout for President Trump. At the same time, though, given everything that Ruth Bader Ginsburg stood for, that can also mobilize, and it has shown through donations, mobilize a lot of people on the left. ActBlue reported record numbers in the hours after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death across all Democratic Party donations through their system. So again, to reiterate, it could not have come at a worse time.
Was higher by $6.9 million than it has ever been in their system at one time period.
Oh shit.
So yeah, like their highest record of donations that they have ever had was beaten by $6.9 million just a couple of hours after Ruth died. And ActBlue been 8 years now almost.
So yeah, those Senate races are very important.
Yeah,
I wish I was optimistic about the Amy McGrath. Not to be defeatist, but she quite frankly isn't that inspiring. I think she's very different, and there's a track record of the Democrats putting forth a kind of conservative-ish politician that has a D by their name, and all the conservatives just go like, why would I bother with it? So really the only chance that Mitch gets knocked out is people voting against him, because I don't really think there's many people voting for Amy McGrath, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the only way Mitch McConnell doesn't win is if he goes like into like town square and like kills a bunch of orphans or something.
I mean, at this point, I also feel a lot of it rides on how he handles the Supreme Court nomination and proceedings too.
Yeah, like I said, there's definitely a chance.
Wins.
What?
If they manage to put someone up for the vote, for confirmation, he wins hands down, because that's what everyone on the right wants right now, is to push through someone that'll overturn Roe v. Wade. So,
yeah, there's going to be a lot of people, motivated for his reelection, based on various factors, whether it's genuine belief or misinformation, or you have it. But like I said, I think that primarily the way for him to lose is people voting against him. I wish that I had a lot of positive things to say about Amy McGrath. I don't. She seems like a consummate politician that'll say whatever to try to get elected. I don't think she stands for anything. I don't think she has
it's still not
most politicians.
You have such a great Democrat in Charles Booker going up against her in that, in that primary and stuff. Like, we wasted his political capital on a Senate race that you knew that he would have had no chance at winning at all whatsoever. Like, we should have done something better. We should have, the Democratic Party should have stepped in and said, hey, we don't want you running in this. We want you to become mayor of Louisville first, because it's a predominantly black city to a degree, and you can get elected as mayor. You do a couple of terms as mayor, and then we put you in fourth for the House. It's something like that. But like, to waste him on a Senate race, like in a primary like that, just the waste of political capital that he built and stuff. Because like we've said a million times before, people like to vote for a winner, and that loss was just demoralizing.
Oh, he barely lost.
I know.
Charles Booker,
demoralizing. Like barely losing is like worse than like coming close.
On election night, it looked like he had won. Only until the rest of the votes were counted by the next day was it clear that he had actually not won. On election night, the election was so close that it had looked like he had won. And it's because he had galvanized so many first-time voters or people to cross over.
And emphasize on election night, that is a preview to what's going to happen in November, because there can very easily be a red mirage, so to speak, as to the initial results on the actual election night, not counting mail-in ballots and absentee and provisional ballots as well. So, again, buckle up, guys, because November is going to be one of the most difficult times of our country, regardless of what happens.
Yeah. I think it'll be rough.
Fun.
Brace ourselves, boys.
But on that note, I think that's a good spot to end up this week's amazing conversation. I have been so thrilled to finally be back on with you guys. Thank you for bearing with me. I've just been so, all in on getting David Kim elected right now.
Bro, you are doing the work. That's why we appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'll be here. When I can be here, I will be here, simply put.
When are you bringing David with you, though? That's what we want to know. We need to sex up this podcast. I mean, because right now, Rob only cancels out all of our ugliness. So if we him, our like prettiness level like raises. So
I will bring it up again sometime this week, but there's a lot of things we have to focus on, prioritize as a campaign right now in terms of that needs our mental resources. But I will make the ask, but I can't make any promises at the current moment.
Oh, we don't require like mental participation at all whatsoever. He just needs to show up and be his sexy self.
Yeah, just like literally show up in a square on the screen. Like not even say anything, just work on his stuff and like we're in the background talking, and he's just there. He's just there.
He's just there eating a taco.
His existence is enough. Yeah, eating a taco. That's all you gotta do. Really fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, indeed. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Whether you happen to be my fellow co-host, always great to see you, and anybody watching, Sue, you're always a pleasure in the chat. Everyone, tried it. This last week was rough, but next week will be better. And you know what? If it's not looking better, make it better. Remember that you have that power. So with that, everyone, take care.
Have a good night, guys.
Deuces.